My family called me a loser for living in a rented apartment. "You're a total failure," said parents. Today, when I invited them to my new home, their faces turned pale. "You're a complete failure," my parents said. They didn't say it once. They said it for years. Every holiday, every family gathering, every time we sat around the dinner table, I was the target. My two older brothers, Adam and Jake, had bought their houses years before. Adam had a big house in the suburbs with a pool and a home gym. Jake had a sleek, modern house with floor-to-ceiling windows. And then there was me, Simon, the youngest, the disappointment. The one still living in a rented apartment, like a clueless kid who hadn't figured out life. They laughed openly about it. My dad would shake his head and sigh. My mom would say things like, "We're just worried about you," in that condescending tone. Adam would make jokes about how I'd probably be renting forever, and Jake would grin and nod along. But when they needed something help fixing their Wi-Fi, a ride to the airport, money for something urgent, I was suddenly worth talking to. And I knew it. I saw it clearly. But I never argued. I never fought back. I just let them talk. Because while they were talking, I was doing something they never expected. I was saving. I skipped the expensive nights out. I drove the same car for years. I lived small while they showed off their renovations, their new furniture, their backyard improvements. They thought I was stuck, but I was just waiting. And then I bought my house. Not just any house. My dream house. A beautiful, modern place with high ceilings, a spacious kitchen, and a backyard big enough for summer cookouts. I could see myself sitting on the deck with a beer, watching the sunset. No mortgage to drown me, no landlord breathing down my neck. I didn't tell my family. I wanted them to see it for themselves. So I sent a message to the family group chat. "Housewarming party at my new place. I want everyone there." Instant chaos. My mom called me within seconds. "What new place?" "You'll see when you get there," I said. She asked again, but I just repeated myself. On the day of the party, I stood outside and waited. I heard the cars before I saw them. First, my parents pulled up. They got out slowly, looking around with skeptical faces, as if they expected to see some rundown shack. Then Adam and Jake arrived, exchanging glances and grinning like this was some kind of joke. Then they saw the house. And everything changed. No one moved. No one spoke. Their eyes darted around, scanning every detail: the wide driveway, the immaculate lawn, the sleek, modern windows. My mother put a hand to her mouth. My dad frowned, as if his brain was trying to process what he saw. Adam blinked a few times. Jake muttered, "No way." I let them stand there in silence for a few seconds before I spoke. "So? Are you coming in or what?" They walked through the house, still stunned. The kitchen, the living room, the bedrooms. Every room they entered, I saw the same expression on their faces: disbelief. My father ran his hand over the kitchen counter. "You bought this?" "Yes." "How?" my mom whispered. I shrugged. "Just saved up." They didn't get it. They still didn't understand how I, the loser, had pulled it off. We ate dinner together, but this time there were no insults. No snide remarks. Just an awkward, forced admiration. My dad nodded stiffly and said, "You did good." My mother hugged me and told me she was proud. Even Adam and Jake, who never gave me credit for anything, admitted that the house was incredible. When they left, they all waved and smiled. My mom said, "This house looks good on you." For the first time in my life, I had the upper hand. But I had no idea that a week later everything would change. That a moving van would show up at my house. And my parents would get out, expecting to move in. A week after the housewarming party, I was finally settling in. The feeling of waking up in my own home, with no landlord, no rent due at the beginning of the month, was unbeatable. I still found myself expecting to hear the neighbor upstairs stomping around or the sound of traffic outside my apartment window. But instead there was silence. Peace. Then, on a quiet Saturday morning, that peace was shattered. I was in the kitchen making coffee when I heard the unmistakable sound of a moving truck. I frowned, thinking maybe one of my neighbors was moving in or out. I stepped outside, cup in hand, and I froze. A big white moving truck was parked in my driveway. My driveway. Then I saw my parents get out of the car, followed by my mother waving enthusiastically. My dad was already walking to the back of the van, where a guy in a uniform was unlocking the doors. What the hell? I went over, still trying to process what I saw. What's going on? My mom smiled like it was the most normal thing in the world. Oh, we're moving in. I stared at her. What? My dad clapped his hands. I thought it made the most sense. The house is huge, more than enough room for us. He gestured to the moving truck. Got everything packed up. Gonna start bringing it in. I actually looked around, expecting this to be some elaborate prank. But no. The movers were already rolling out a dolly piled high with boxes. You're kidding, I said. My mom frowned. Why would we joke? This house is perfect for all of us. And it just makes sense. Your dad and I don't want to keep up our place anymore. Too much work. I blinked. Then sell your house and get an apartment. She waved her hand. Why should we do that when you have all this extra space? Families should be together. I let out a short, stunned laugh. You're not moving in. Now my dad looked irritated. Don't be ridiculous, Simon. You have 4 bedrooms. We already planned this. Planned it out? Without telling me? We didn't think you'd mind. My mom said, her voice light, as if I was the one being unreasonable. We're your parents, Simon. And it's not like you have a wife or kids. Why shouldn't we live here? I was still standing there, trying to wrap my head around the sheer audacity of it all, when one of the movers rolled by with a huge plastic bin labeled Mom's Clothes. Hey! I turned to him. Stop! None of this is going in. The guy hesitated, looking between my dad and me. Keep moving, my dad said. And just like that, the guy pushed forward. I stepped in front of him. I said stop. The mover stopped. My mom sighed. Simon, don't be dramatic. It's already done. We sold the house. My stomach dropped. You what? We sold the house, my father repeated. It closed yesterday. And we got a great price for it. I felt like I had been taken for a ride. And where exactly were you going to live if I said no? My mother smiled sweetly. But you wouldn't say no. You're not that kind of son. Something inside me snapped. I turned to the movers. No one brings another box in. In fact, start putting everything back in the truck. The guy hesitated again. Sir, you hired us, Dash. I don't care. I own this house. You don't. Nobody's moving in. Silence. My mom's face twisted in shock, as if she couldn't believe I was actually rejecting her. My dad's jaw tightened. Simon, my mother began again. This is ridiculous. We're your family. I took a deep breath. You should have asked me before you sold your house. For the first time, her confidence wavered. We just thought you'd be happy. My mother muttered. Well, I'm not. For a moment, no one spoke. The movers exchanged awkward glances, waiting for someone to make a decision. Then my dad did something I never expected. He pulled out his cell phone, dialed a number, and said, Yes, we need a locksmith. I lost it. I grabbed the phone out of his hand. Are you out of your mind? He yanked it back. This is our house now, too. We're getting keys. I laughed, but it wasn't even a real laugh, just pure disbelief. No. You're not. And before they could argue again, I did the only thing I could think of. I pulled out my own cell phone and called the police. I had never called the police on my own parents before. I never thought I'd have to. But there I was, standing in my own driveway, watching movers haul boxes labeled Dad's Tools and kitchen plates into a house they had no business moving into. The 911 operator asked what the emergency was. I told them straight out. My parents are trying to move into my house without permission. I could hear the confusion in her voice. Sir, are they trespassing? They sold their house without telling me and just showed up with a moving van expecting to live here. I told them no, and now my father is trying to call a locksmith to change the locks. That got her attention. She said officers were on their way. When I hung up, my father was still on the phone arguing with the locksmith, telling him to hurry up, because his son was acting crazy. My mother had her arms crossed and looked personally offended, as if I had just spit in her face. Simon, this is ridiculous, she snapped. You called the police on your own parents? Yes, I said, crossing my arms. Since you didn't listen the first 10 times, I said no. For the first time, I saw real panic flash across her face. My dad overheard and finally put his phone down. Are you serious? He asked. As serious as the down payment on my house. Adam and Jake weren't here, but I wish they were. I wanted them to see this. The same parents who'd called me a failure, who'd laughed about how I'd never have a house now, they were acting like they owned mine. We stood in silence for several long minutes. Then 2 squad cars pulled up to the house. An officer got out, adjusting his belt. Who called it in? I did, I said, stepping forward. They're trying to move in against my will. The officer glanced over at my parents. My mom immediately went into victim mode. This is just a misunderstanding, she said with a fake little laugh. We are his parents. We sold our house because we thought we were going to live with our son. We raised him. And now he's trying to kick us out like we're garbage. The officer's expression didn't change. Sir, he turned to me. Do you own this house? Yes, I said. I have the deed inside if you want to see it. The policeman nodded, then looked at my father. Did your son invite you to move in? My dad, still angry, put his hands in his pockets. He never said we couldn't move in. I stared at him. What? Yes, I did. Multiple times. The officer turned back to me. Do you want them removed from the property? My mother gasped like she was in a soap opera. Simon, are you really doing this? I didn't even hesitate. Yes. Get them out. The officer sighed and rubbed his temple. He turned back to my parents. All right, you heard him. Pack your things and leave. If you refuse, we'll have to escalate this. My dad opened his mouth as if to argue, but then the second cop, who had been silent the whole time, stepped forward. Sir, he said firmly, don't make this any harder than it has to be. I don't think I'd ever seen my father look so small. The movers, who had been standing awkwardly off to the side the whole time, suddenly started putting things back in the truck. My mom stood there in stunned silence. Then, like a switch flipped, she burst into tears. Simon, we have nowhere to go. I stared at her. Whose fault is that? We're your parents, who made a major life decision without asking me first. I wasn't buying the act. I had seen this routine before. The guilt, the emotional manipulation, the tears when they didn't get their way. It had worked when I was a child. When I was too afraid to stand up for myself. Not anymore. The cops waited while the movers loaded everything back into the truck. My father, still seething, climbed into the driver's seat. My mom sat next to him, wiping her face and giving me these heartbroken looks like I was some cruel, ungrateful son who had abandoned her. Then they drove off. I let out a breath I hadn't realized I was holding. The officers made sure they were really gone before they went back to their patrol cars. One of them nodded at me. If they come back and try this again, call us. I thanked them and went inside, locking the door behind me. For the first time since I bought this house, it really felt like mine. But I should have known it wasn't over. Because the next day, I woke up to 200 missed calls and texts. And my brother Adam was at the top of the list. I scrolled through them, my stomach clenching. My family group chat was on fire. The messages were coming in so fast I could barely keep up. Adam, are you out of your mind? Mom, Simon, I can't believe you did this to us, loudly crying face. Dad, I'm ashamed to call you my son. Jake, call me when you wake up. Adam again, you actually called the cops on Mom and Dad? Mom, we're homeless now because of you. Homeless. Right. Because selling their house and assuming they could move into mine without asking was totally my fault. Before I could process all that, my phone rang. Adam. I sighed and picked it up. What? Don't what me? He snapped. What the hell is going on with you? You want a list or just the highlights? You got our parents thrown out by the police. What is wrong with you? I sat up in bed and rubbed my face. They tried to move into my house without asking, sold theirs without telling me, and then Dad tried to change my locks. What was I supposed to do? Adam scoffed. Literally anything but call the cops like some heartless psycho. I laughed. Oh, so I should have just let them take over my house. Let them walk all over me like they always do? Yeah, no thanks. You could have let them stay. He shot back. Or help them find a place. I clenched my jaw. They didn't want help finding a place. They wanted my house. Not an apartment. Not a condo. My house. They're our parents, Simon. You don't just leave your family like that. I was about to argue, but then something clicked. Wait a minute, I said slowly. Where are you in all this? If you're so worried about them, why don't they stay with you? Silence. Adam? More silence. I smiled. Oh, let me guess. They didn't even ask to stay with you, did they? That's not the point. He snapped. I laughed again. That's exactly the point. They never even considered moving in with you or Jake because you never let them. But me? The loser who was lucky to even own a house. Yeah, I was the easiest target. Adam sighed loudly. Simon, you have the space dash. So do you. They'd be more comfortable with you dash. Bull. You assumed I was a pushover. That's the real reason. Another pause. Then Adam muttered. Mom cried all night. Maybe she should have thought about that before she sold her house without a backup plan. Adam exhaled sharply. You're really unbelievable. And you're deflecting. He was silent for a few seconds, then he hit me with the classic guilt trip. If Grandma were alive to see this, she'd be ashamed of you. I actually laughed. Dude, Grandma hated Dad. She literally gave her house to Aunt Linda just so he wouldn't get it. Adam cursed under his breath, realizing the guilt trip wasn't going to work. Look, I said, losing my patience. I get that you're mad, but you're only mad because it's easier to blame me than to admit that Mom and Dad screwed themselves. I don't owe them my house just because they're family. Adam was silent again. Then he muttered, Don't expect us to forget that. I rolled my eyes. I wasn't going to. Then I hung up. I sat there for a moment, letting everything sink in. I should have felt bad. A year ago, I would have felt bad. But now, I just felt free. But then, before I could even put my phone down, a notification popped up. $2,000 withdrawn from your account. My blood ran cold. What? I opened my banking app. My joint savings account, the one my parents had insisted I open with them years ago, for emergencies, was missing $2,000. I felt sick. Then came another text from my mom. Thanks for helping us out, sweetie. Red Heart will pay you back when we can. And attached was a picture of my dad handing her a brand new iPhone. I stared at my phone, my hands clenched so tightly I thought I'd break the screen. $2,000. Gone. And for what? A new iPhone for my mom? After they tried to steal my house? After they guilted me, called me a disappointment, and turned my own brother against me? I dialed my mom's number. She answered immediately, her voice sweet and innocent. Simon! Hi, honey dash. Give me my money back. A pause. Then a sigh. Oh, don't be like that. We needed it, and you have plenty. I gritted my teeth. It wasn't yours to take. Simon. she said in that tone she always used when she was trying to be reasonable while completely ignoring what I was saying. We raised you. We sacrificed so much for you. Can't you just help us out a little? You didn't ask. I snapped. You just took it. She scoffed. And what would you have said if we had asked? I didn't even hesitate. No. Exactly, she said, as if she had just proven some brilliant point. So what difference does it make? I laughed, but there was no humor in it. It doesn't work that way. Give it back. We can't. I blinked. What do you mean you can't? It's gone. Gone. Just like that. Are you kidding me? It was an emergency. A brand new iPhone is not an emergency. She huffed. Your dad had to do something to cheer me up after you humiliated us like that. I was speechless. Speechless, actually. You can be mad all you want, she continued, but family takes care of each other. And after what you did, this is the least you owe us. I almost started to scream, but then, something inside me just stopped. I exhaled. Slowly. Then I said, All right. She paused. All right, what? All right, I repeated. Keep the money. Silence. Then she asked carefully. Really? Yep. Keep it. I don't care anymore. She hesitated, probably expecting some kind of trick. When nothing happened, she said, Well, good. I'm glad you finally understand. I smiled. Yes. I understand perfectly. And then I hung up. I sat there for a few minutes, just breathing. Then I went into my banking application and closed the joint account. Next, I blocked my mom's number. Then my dad's. Then Adam's, just for good measure. And just like that, silence. No more phone calls. No more guilt trips. No more being treated like garbage until they needed something from me. At first I thought I'd be angry. That I'd stew over it for days. But the more I sat with it, the more I realized something. I had just bought peace. Sure, it was an expensive price. But $2,000 was a small price to pay for the rest of my life without her drama. And honestly, it was the best money I ever spent.